fixed a lot of the problems before coming into a major one. They're like, oh well, yeah, we fixed your water pump, but your engine has a blew a head gasket. Now it won't stop overheating no matter what I do.
Oh, really?
So now I'm at a point to where it's like I've been renting cars for like a few days now. So now I'm like, okay, maybe I should just take my car back to the dealer and try to get another one.
Can you do that?
Well, I know that. Well, I don't.
How old is it?
It's like 5 years old, right?
I don't know the dealers can tell you.
Well, CarMax is
Oh, is it Carmax? I don't know.
CarMax takes every. Well, they pretty much take every car, and I'm still paying on it. So it's like I'm sure they could, you
Yeah,
know,
she didn't work for a deal.
at least take it back. It's just I haven't even.
So what's wrong with it?
It's still the engine still overheats,
So
and
the overheating engine could be kind of like working on cars.
mm,
So you have there's a it's not that expensive. Did you take it to a mechanic?
yeah,
What'd they say?
they said it blew a head gasket,
Oh, you're
and
screwed with the head gasket.
yeah, and they were like, oh well, to replace the head gasket is like an extra 500, and they were like, then you have to break
Did
into the engine,
you
and
see water coming out of the back?
there was that's what I was told is there was a lot of water coming out of it.
Because you can have moisture, you can have condensation. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good yourself.
Good
I'm
morning,
doing good.
Andy.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
And they said it was a lot of water leaking out, and every time they put water in there, well, every time I put fluid in there, that's how I discovered that there was a leak. Anyways, I would put fluid in there, and then I'd see it leak out. But I guess over time, since like this started like a few months ago, where it was like I would put radiator fluid in there, and then like it would take a whole month for it to go away. What I didn't know was,
Little
yeah,
leak.
that little leak was having a great impact on my engine. I didn't know that even while it was just a little leak, it was still creating the pocket of heat, within my engine. And they said that when your engine gets hot, it expands, and when it cools down, it shrinks. Well, after a certain amount of time of expanding and shrinking, it's now at like a permanent expansion.
Because the other place you would see water would be in your oil.
Yeah. Well, no, this time it wasn't water in the oil. The water would just leak out completely. And that was when they discovered, okay, well, your water pipe is.
It's not coming from underneath.
So basically, no matter what fluid I was putting in there, there wasn't water pumping to mix with the fluid to cool down the radiator. So I was no matter what, I was just running on E with it, and now it's affected the engine. And
Yeah.
it's just things that I didn't know of until now that I'm looking at it, and it's just pretty messed up. It's just I don't know what I mean. I talked to somebody at CarMax. I told him the whole situation. And even the guy at CarMax was like, "Well, you can still get it appraised.
Oh, cool.
So if I can get it appraised and see
Get
what,
something out of it.
yeah,
Huh?
and that would be like, yeah,
What's that noise?
that's my phone.
Oh,
Sorry.
I've never heard that before. Someone's talking to us.
I forgot you already posted up, huh? You ready? Ready to go?
Not really.
Ready to go to war?
Yeah, I gotta get his phone.
Oliver?
You have your phone ready?
Oliver, can't you do the Instagram? You know how to do that? Can you Instagram video this?
Yeah. Wait, on my phone?
Yeah, on yours.
Oh.
Hello.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Oliver.
No, this is not Oliver's not in here.
You don't look like Oliver.
No. You're small.
Boy. You know, it dawned on me, we need to be Instagramming video in this too.
That I can do, but I don't have the
No, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about Oliver.
I know it would do it parallel.
No, we're specialized, you do what you do. I'm not gonna overload you.
No, I don't do anything. This
You don't
software
do
does it.
What do you mean you don't do anything?
Software
What are you
does
talking
it.
about?
Software does it.
Modest man. All right.
Hi, EOH.
Okay, how you doing? All right, here we go.
Hi, EOH. Okay.
Okay, I didn't want to rub my. Okay, there you go. My massage oil off on you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're set to go.
Gentrification and observation, is it a threat?
Huh?
Gentrification and observation, is it a threat?
Yes. Whoa! Oh, Angela. There you go. Okay, where's A.H. Hoffman? God!
What happened?
Was a midget sitting in here? God.
What
Angela.
happened? What?
Try to work, Vino a little bit into the production. Give him something to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want me to answer phones?
Whatever you can, give him something.
Okay.
Well, he's just kind of sitting there.
No, he's studying. He likes to study in this
Yeah, but give him something to do.
Oh, okay.
No, what I'm asking is Instagram, because why don't you talk to Angela about that, because she did it one time. Ask her how she did it.
I was saying, do we have an Instagram for the Hutchinson?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we could definitely do it through there.
So
So it's
I need to give you my password. How do we?
I'll talk to
We need to do something today, Oliver, because we're not going to have another show for 2 weeks.
Oh man.
So I need to do it today.
And that's why it's like.
Talk to Angela. I'd like to Instagram this.
Oops.
Okay, Rick, let's do it. Lines already. And welcome to another edition of the Hutchinson Report Town Hall of the Air. A.H. Hoffman is on board. Leroy Jackson's in the house, our videographer. Welcome. Hi. How you doing? Good morning. Leroy Jackson. Ricky, how you doing? Oliver. Hello. Vino. And of course, last but not least, A.H. Hoffman. All right. Here's what we're going to do. A.H. Hoffman, what are you doing? I mean, you got books all over the place. You got Vino. And Vino, how you doing? You got your date book there, your appointment book. We're supposed to be doing the show, A.H. Hoffman. Look, your beauty shop appointments, your other appointments, you have to do that on your own time. You're interfering with my time, our time on the air, A.H. Hoffman. I'm getting ready to ask you one question. We are going to be talking about what today, A.H. Hoffman? No, you can talk. We're off.
In order for us to do it, I would need like your code for that profile or use your phone for
Is it a threat? Once
the
again,
Instagram live.
gentrification and
Run that by me again.
She said in order to do
threat?
Instagram live for the Hutchinson,
You know what I
would
always
need
say?
like your password
We
to
want
that,
your opinion.
to
Why?
that
Because it
profile,
matters
or
to
we could
us.
use your phone.
I said,
But if you're using your phone
you
for
are the voice of the
Facebook
people.
Live,
So give us a call
you couldn't use it for
818-985-5735.
Angela did it one time.
985
Can she come?
KPFK.
Because
It's
Vino could
actually
sit,
gentrification and development.
Can she come in? Ask her to come in.
Gentrification.
Well,
and
wait.
development.
Wait till she
Is
gets
it
through.
a
We come
threat?
back to me.
You can also follow
Vino
Mo
can
on
fill in
Facebook
for her.
right now.
Ask her
Right
to
now,
come in and show you how to do it.
live. He's right now. You can
Because
chime in.
she did it two, three
Give us
times.
your opinion. Ask a question.
And I
Right
don't know
now,
exactly what she,
Facebook Live.
trying to
You can
interpret
also
what
have
she
a watch
did.
party.
Who
Did you know
knows?
that? You can push your button down there. A watch party.
But the
So
Instagram,
anyway,
what I'm saying,
listen to the
is a whole nother
thank you for
option.
listening to the Hutchinson Report Town Hall of the Air. We're anxious to hear what you have to
Leroy,
say,
let me know
and
where
we'll
I'm
be right back.
You're on here.
Okay, are we on now? Are we on? Okay. Leroy, I've been gabbing away, yakking away. People have been eavesdropping on what I'm doing. My private business, Leroy Jackson, courtesy of you. You got to tell me these things. I need to be dead sometimes, not live, no breath. All right, welcome to, let's do it officially now. Let me welcome everyone. Welcome to the Hutchinson Facebook live stream of the air, not the town hall, the live stream of the air. Leroy Jackson, the people weighing in. Do we have names coming in? All right, huh? All right, okay, here's the deal. We're going to be talking about gentrification and development. Have we gone too far with this? What does it mean for communities? What does it mean for your community? If, in fact, you have folk coming into the community now, housing is just off the chart in terms of money, prices, all that good stuff. People are saying that in African-American communities, I keep hearing this, like South LA now, flood of new people, young, whites, Asians, everybody from Russians, Azerbaijanians, everybody coming in with money, buying up the property, and just blowing it through the roof. And as a result of that, young people, young families starting out, particularly African Americans, can't buy the stuff anymore. So a whole bunch of attendant problems. You're losing the cultural continuity, you're losing the makeup, you're losing the cohesion. We keep hearing all those things, Leroy Jackson. All right, having said that, is that true? Your thoughts on that? Gentrification, big topic, big debate, a lot of discussion on that, a lot of controversy, good or bad. You tell me. All right, having said all that, no, I really need that instrument. So, Rick, let's transition into our big up-tempo music. Stevie Wonder. Oh. All right. All right, you know what time it is. It's the Hutchinson Report, review of news and issues of the week, things that really touch me, things that really caught my interest, things that are in the news this week. All right, and then A.H. Hoffman, she's over there. All right, let's get rolling. A.H. Hoffman, let's talk about first your favorite president, number 45. He made a lot of people mad, Leroy Jackson. He went down to North Carolina, and then, of course, he denied it. But we heard the crowd saying, send them back. Send them back. The them, as we know, the 4 congresswomen, they all are born in America except one. Send them back. Playing to the worst, pandering to the worst, and stoking up the fires. Now, here's the problem with that, A.H. Hoffman. I take a little contrarian view of things sometimes. I have been railing on my Facebook page. You've seen this. I fight with people all the time. They fight with me all the time. Railing, stop it. Do not go there with him. Stop calling the guy a racist. You're not going to get anything with that. Those that think he's a racist, they already think that. So you're just really preaching to the choir. What you really don't want to do, you want to be careful. You don't want to allow this guy any more room and latitude like he did down in North Carolina to rev up his base, by the way, which is an expandable base, to essentially give him any more ammunition. And, I've been big on don't take the bait. Every time this guy tweets something, every time the guy says something, every time the guy does his little divisive card, racial or otherwise, you don't have to take the debate and fire back at him, or the bait and fire back at him. You don't have to go into the House and pass resolutions that he's a racist. You don't have to do that. It's not going to do anything. What you need to do, A.H. Hoffman, is this. You need to have a strategy. You need to have tactics. You need to have a program. You need to work in the trenches night and day, organizing, selling those folk that can be sold on why the guy needs to get out of there. Calling names and just calling the guy racist is not going to do anything. I don't know how many times I have to tell people that it's counterproductive. Not only are you, let me see this. Here we go, Oliver, a second. I got the New York Times here. Headline story today, that the Electoral College now favors Trump. I've been saying there's only 6 states that determine the Oval Office. Let's go through them: Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Florida. And when they looked at the demographics of those states, you're talking about rural, white, working class, blue collar. And I'm not saying pander to them like Trump is doing, but I'm just saying be mindful. You've got to counterbalance that. And you're not going to do that by trying to, call him a racist and call them racist. It doesn't mean anything. New poll just came out today. Hutchinson is just not saying things to be saying things. 90% of Trump supporters do not think he's a racist. Now, you may say, okay, well, that's just Donald Trump supporters, and they're racist too. But here we go again. We're going full circle back with the name calling again. You're not going to win these people over. Not that you're going to win them over anyway, but even neutralizing a small segment by calling them a name. It doesn't work that way. Now, the other problem with that is I'm big on some Democrats continually media grandstanding. Media doing the Trump thing on the other side, throwing out little pithy sound bites, and giving and feeding the media, CNN and the rest of them, giving them ammunition to keep this thing going. They love it. The media's just lapping this stuff up. And meanwhile, you have a big bunch of people right in the middle that are really perplexed by this. What's going on? We have to realize one thing. America is not the west side of L.A., A.H. Hoffman. America is not the Bronx in New York. There's another big America out there that thinks a lot different than you do on the west side of L.A., or if you're sitting in the Bronx or Manhattan in New York. There's a whole nother heartland America out there. How are you going to reach them? The Electoral College, you need to read the New York Times today. The Electoral College favors Trump. The fact of the matter is, if you cannot make deep inroads in those states, see, the other states are just spectator sports. California, spectator. New York, spectator. You can have a gazillion people that vote for the Democrat. Doesn't mean anything. It's not the popular vote. It's the Electoral College. And it's weighted, unfortunately, along with gerrymandering and vote suppression toward their side. So you're going to have to come at it a lot different. You're going to have to get smart, not mad. You're going to have to think these things through. That's why I like Elizabeth Warren. I'm big on her. She has thought through these positions: climate control, criminal justice reform, debt reduction, health care, position papers, thoughtful, with a plan for America. The rest of them, I like Bernie, good guy and all of that, but I'm sorry. Joe, I'm going to reserve some things for him. The rest of them, forget them. They don't even count. Now, having said that, let's go to something else. I'm also big on, well, we'll get to that in a minute. The other thing that we have to look at when we talk about Trump and the coming scene in 2020, you've got to look at basically who can win, or at least who can be competitive. And I think at this point in time, it's going to have to be a balanced ticket. You're going to have a progressive, and you're going to have a centrist, because you got a divided party. And there's no way around that. You got to deal with that division. So all of these things taken together, we're treading on very, very dangerous ground. The deck is stacked against any incoming president, sitting president, and incumbent president, all the above. The fact of the matter is that when you really look at the political scene today, and it's still early in the game, we're 16 months out, anything can happen. I fully expect there's too many of them anyway. I fully expect a lot of the Democratic candidates to drop out. They're not competitive. They're not going anywhere. And I've been big. Some of them, Leroy, I've said, need to think about the Senate. They need to think about that. But then again, they're all, the glitter and the glamour and the allure, the starstruck with, I can be president. Well, fact of the matter, if you don't take the Senate, here's a what if, A.H. Hoffman and Ricky. Let's just say a Democrat wins the White House, but you don't win the Senate, and you got Mitch McConnell sitting there for another 4 years. You see the problem with this? Or, I just said, a Democrat does beat Trump, but you still got McConnell sitting there for 4 years. So what have you really gained? Or let's flip the script a little bit. Let's say Trump wins again, and he may well win again. We don't know. He may well win again another term.
If people don't get out.
No. Well, even if people do get out in California and New York, it doesn't mean anything. He still won. Again, without those big six states, it doesn't mean anything. Now, having said that, let's say he wins again, and the Democrats are savvy enough to take the Senate back. and you put someone, a Democrat McConnell like Chuck Schumer, and they can block Trump for 4 years. So you check and balance, check and checkmate.
Give it back to them like they did.
Well,
with
yeah, but the
Obama.
point of the matter is, if you don't take the Senate, what have you got? You got nothing. All right, let's move on, A.H. Hoffman. Are we moonwalking today? Let's do a little bit of moonwalking. Here we
See,
go.
Get up there and moonwalk.
You know, no, I'm watching you. Leroy, come on, you know, you're a dancer. Oliver, let's
no,
do some
you're the dancer.
moonwalking.
You do ballroom dancing.
All right, well, we'll get to that in a minute. Where's Ricky? You got some moonwalking for us. All right, as soon as we get the moonwalk, today is the 50th anniversary. Where were you on July 20th, 1969? Oliver wasn't not even a speck in anybody's eye. Vino not thought of. Leroy not even thought of. A.H. Hoffman was about 80 years old even then. Ricky, oh, did I say that?
Leroy, you see this guy right here?
Ricky wasn't even thought of then. You know, I was only about 1 year old then. So no, I don't even know if I was 1 year old then. Where were you July 20th if you were born? Here we go. Ricky, bring it up. Look at A.H. Hoffman. Moonwalking. Vino, let me see some moonwalking there. Come on. You know, you got your hat, you got your black hat, and you know, a lot of people are asking Oliver and Leroy, should we go back to the moon? Should we keep hearing that. Should we go back? You know, there's a lot of money, there's a lot of talk now, trying
Should
to
we
duplicate.
Go back to the moon?
Yeah, putting people back on the moon again. You know, Apollo 11, shall we duplicate that again 50 years later?
Yes.
The big
we
question is,
should.
you think we should? Tell me why we should go back
we
to the moon.
should. We
Been
should.
there, done that. And ain't nothing up there,
Earl,
H. Hoffman.
I have this.
Been there, done that.
Look.
You
Earl,
want to
listen,
moonwalk on the moon?
Listen.
Wait a
No,
minute,
we don't
Leroy
have to
Jackson to the
moonwalk.
tune of how many billions of dollars again?
No, Leroy, listen to
How
this.
many
This
billions
is
of dollars
great.
again going
We can
back to the
spend
moon or
billions
Mars
and
for
billions
what?
of dollars, and we can send Agent Orange up there,
That's
and
right.
then we can leave him there, and then we can come back.
So in other words, what you're saying is a one-person spaceship.
Right, yeah, so
Rocket.
it goes right
no.
there.
Wait a minute, not Apollo 11.
Not even
no,
Apollo
no.
11.
Trump 12.
Yeah.
Trump 12.
like that.
Send him on a one-way mission
One-way
to
mission.
the moon. Plant
and then
him there.
drop him off,
without-
and then and that's it.
No spacesuit. He doesn't have a spacesuit.
No, he doesn't have to have a spacesuit or
nothing.
anything. No, we're not that cruel. We'll
All
give him
right,
a spacesuit.
Give him a spacesuit.
Okay.
All right, but program for what? 1 minute? Send him to the moon. But no,
Yes.
seriously, A.H. Hoffman, we can't solve one problem on the Earth. Can't solve one. You know, we know we got the issues of classism, racism, sexism, genderism, this and
Homelessness. We
it
don't
goes
need
on.
to
Can't
spend that
solve
money.
one problem here.
No, we don't
And
need to.
The only reason Leroy Jackson we ever sent anybody to the moon. Let's get real. Ricky, we sent a person to the moon. We spent billions then with Apollo 11 and the whole space program. But there was only one reason: to
Why?
beat the Russians. Back then, the old Soviet Union. Remember the Soviets got into space first. It panicked America. It was another military part of that. And so Kennedy, when he said we're going to put a man on the moon, man back then, not, before we got to the gender correct thing. It was basically competition and competing with the Soviets. How can we beat them in the space race? Because there had a military component to it. Remember, we were in the depth of the Cold War then. Soviet Union, the U.S., they had just put cosmonauts up into space. The nation panicked. Are they getting ahead of us? We got to do something. Kennedy comes along, boom.
Cosmonauts?
No, they were called cosmonauts.
Oh.
The Russians were called the cosmonauts. We call them the astronauts. So it was basically a military, Cold War, political move. It had nothing to do with science. That was just collateral to it. So now you're talking about wasting. There's no Soviet Union anymore. There's no Cold War. There's no military competition anymore. You've lost the reason for that. So, it's just basically making a lot of people in that industry, the space development industry, obviously aerospace and the rest, and some scientists and technicians and academics, it would make them rich. In other words, it would be feather bedding for them. Don't need it. Solve some problems here. Spend the money down here first.
Exactly.
A.H. Hoffman,
Yeah.
did you send me this? There was an incident. Let's go back. Let's come low. Forget the moon. Let's come back down to Earth for a second. Not only come back down to Earth, let's come to Santa Monica. I guess you saw it, went video, the viral, a black
Nike?
mother and young kid, they went into a Nike
Nike store,
shop. You
yes.
saw that.
Mhm.
And the Nike woman came out,
The
screaming and
manager
hollering.
came out
Well,
and
that's what she said. The Nike woman
accused them-
came out.
He said the Nike
Well, the
woman.
Nike woman. I mean,
And
that's what she
accused them
is.
of stealing the basketball.
Stealing the basketball. An upstanding couple. I mean, family. I mean, their pedigree, second to none. The Stallworth family. Well, they did something that I liked.
Yes, they did.
They said, you know what? I'm mad as hell. We're not going to take it anymore. They didn't just sit back, weep and wail and moan and scream about, I've been victimized and all that. They said, you know what? To hell with you. We're suing.
Yep.
We're taking you to court.
Representation.
Nike freaked out on that. They issued a statement. They said, yada, 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 we didn't do it. We didn't do it. Mea culpa, mea culpa. The manager will be fired. We know that. She should be. Get her out of there. The Santa Monica police look stupid. They look
Brought on
stupid.
criminal
They
charges.
look stupid.
Yeah,
No, they
should
look
be.
stupid
Yes.
coming out there. No, I'm talking about the Santa Monica PD.
No, but she should be brought
Yes,
up
she
on
does.
criminal charges.
Well, first of all, they got the attorneys, get the lawsuit. The point I'm making is, I've been big on this. Don't tell me anything when somebody calls 911 because you've been breathing. Somebody called 911 because they saw you chewing gum. Somebody called 911 because
you're
they saw
selling
you.
water.
Well,
a kid selling water.
somebody because you were walking down the street, with your dog. Somebody called 911, and then you scream and holler after that and don't do anything. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. If you do not demand A, a citizen's arrest, B, prosecution, C, lawsuit, then I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. You have nothing to say. All right, anyway, hats off to the Stallworth family. I like that.
Yes.
What do you say to one of my nephews who voted for Trump?
Nothing.
I have a nephew, Leroy Jackson, who voted for Trump, and he said he's not backing down. He's not backing down. He said unemployment now is at the lowest for African Americans. You're living better. You're making more money. Look at all the things that are happening here.
Ricky, are there
Businesses are
crickets?
off the chart. And he's a young businessman. So he's a businessman.
Crickets in the
I
background?
said he's a businessman. Okay, we heard the crickets. So what do you say to him, A.H. Hoffman?
Nothing.
At the family dinners that we have, he sits there and he says, why is everybody looking at me? What was that old song, Lee? Why is everybody always picking on me?
Why is everybody always
Picking on me. Ricky, do you
Charlie
have that?
Brown.
Why is everybody
Charlie
always
Brown,
picking on
he's
it?
a
Charlie
clown.
Brown, he's a clown. Everybody say, what did he say? I feel like I'm being, the old Spanish Inquisition. I feel you're all looking at me, you're looking at me, and you're picking on me. I had to rescue the guy. I said, leave him alone. Hey, it's America. You have the right to be, well, I wanted to say something else. No, bring it up, Ricky. Look at Leroy, that hand is bobbing. He's moonwalking. Here we go. Ah, there you go. All right, so what can I tell you? It's it. Final thought. While we're back here, I'm going to wrap it up. The Mamie Clayton Library. As you well know, we led the huge campaign,
Yes,
Save Mamie
Earl.
Clayton.
Yes, you did.
Well, we have a certain supervisor who looks like will get his way. We're told Leroy Jackson, July 30th, they must vacate. Final, get out of there. I got an email,
Really?
Angela,
That's it?
I got an email from the director over there, said we're looking for volunteers to help us move stuff out of there.
Where are they going to go?
Well, Cal State Dominguez wants a collection, and they'll probably parcel it out a few other places, but that's irrelevant. Let me tell you something, A.H. Hoffman. When I am
So
elected,
disappointing.
to that position, second district supervisor, the first act I would do is, number one, they will go back in that building. I will put them back in that building. The second thing is I will fully fund them to where they are a world-class African-American fount of culture, film, and art to the tune of millions. Backed up by the LA County Board of Supervisors. They'll be back in the building, and they will be financed to the tune of whatever they need to build this into a world-class institution that, A.H. Hoffman, you can take to the bank. That is my pledge. That is my promise. We're going to make it happen. All right, having said that, I'm asking you, A.H. Hoffman, I'm asking
Yes.
Oliver, I'm asking Bino, I'm asking Leroy, I'm asking Ricky, I'm asking the man on the moon. Well, in honor of July 20th, 1969. Gentrification.
And
When I moved on my block in 1994, Leroy Jackson, I want you to hear this. When I moved on my block in the Windsor Hills area in 1994, it's a small block. The majority of those on my block, Oliver, were African American. Now, we fast forward almost, 3 decades, let's see, let me get see, 25 years. We fast forward a quarter century later. I'm not that good in math, so I had to do a little computing here. 1984, 2 plus 2 equals 5. Well, okay. Well, what can I tell you? 25 years later, A.H. Hoffman, that block that I live on now, when I look out my window in the morning, I don't see African Americans anymore. I see young whites walking their dogs, strolling down the street. There are only two African American families left on the block, either young whites or somebody else from another ethnic group. The home next to me was rehabbed. It was put on the market for $1.5 million. A young white couple bought that. The same pattern can be seen in many neighborhoods around the country. South side of Chicago, Harlem, we know that. Parts of Detroit, which I'm familiar with. Philly, just about every major urban area. Neighborhoods that, going back in time, South LA, that were historic, well, not historically, African American, and now you have gentrification, housing, boom, going up, prices off the chart. Many people are complaining about the compactness, the cohesion, the unity that comes with the kind of the upside, I guess you can say, of racial segregation in neighborhoods. Now, there's another side to that. Let me just lay it out, A.H. Hoffman, and then we're going to open the lines. The other side, many people are saying, hey, this is a capitalist system. It's a market economy. You can't stop progress. Change is going to happen. It's like the little kid putting their finger in the dike trying to stop the roaring sea. It can't happen. The changing face of America, changing demographics. And isn't it good for neighborhoods, Leroy Jackson, to have that integrate, that cultural thing, a good mix of people? That's what America should look like, not just one ethnic group stuck over here. Isn't that a good thing? And then there's something else. People say, look at property values. They've gone up. Isn't that a good thing? They also say the quality neighborhoods, schools are going up, being improved. The parks, recreation, streets, isn't that a good thing? How can you stop it? Should you stop it? 818-985-5735, 818-985-KPFK. I'm asking one thing. Gentrification, South LA, Inglewood, Windsor Hills, View Park, Ladera, Lamert Park, or South Side of Chicago, Harlem, Bed-Stuy, the East Side in Detroit, North Side in Philly. We can go on and on. Is it a good thing or not? Your thoughts on that? 818-985-5735, 818-985-KPFK. All right, A.H. Hoffman, you and Ricky, moonwalk for a break. Can we moonwalk for a break? We'll be right back. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I want to know gentrification or development. Is that a good or a bad thing? Or all points in between? Do you see maybe some good things, some good points? Maybe some negative points? Your thoughts on that. And also I'd like to know, Leroy Jackson, let me know if you live in what city, well, first of all, what city are you viewing from? And secondly, is your neighborhood faced with the issue of gentrification? How do you view it? All right, you know what to do. And observations, comments, put them up. Also, let other people know that we're doing the Hutchinson Report Facebook live stream. Bring other people in. Don't be selfish and be greedy. Let other people, in on the fun, too. All right. And Leroy, what we'll do at the end, the best comments. You're taking notes. You got voluminous notes over there. If you got something we're saying, Leroy Jackson or someone else will read them on the air, time permitting. All right, Pedro Baez. I don't know if you're gentrified in Sun City, Arizona. Your thoughts?
Indeed. I went ahead and did the other type of gentrification. But anyway, two things before we get into this topic. Number one, a happy birthday to Rachel Robinson, 97 years young as of yesterday. And also...
Jackie's significant other.
Absolutely. One other thing that we have always said, you and I, we always put this out whenever we had any political leaders come on during an election. Don't tell us about what the other guy hasn't done. tell us what you're going
There
to do.
you go.
Forget the other guy.
There you go.
Forget the other guy. Concentrate on what you're going to do for the community, what you're going to do for the area that you're going to represent, and how you are going to incorporate that into the overall scheme of things. Because to go out there and trade insults is just, as you said, a waste of time, and also it gives the other guy that you're trying to defeat, and forgive me, I don't mean the other guy, the other person you're going to defeat. I don't want to be called a sexist, because that's definitely not who I am. More ammunition and sympathy, and people will go out and vote for that other cat.
You also saw what happened in North Carolina. He just jumped right on that and just revved up the mob. So there you go.
Exactly. Anyway, but the one thing about L.A. and gentrification, L.A. is extremely unique in the fact that the gentrification that's going on in Los Angeles is a little different. And that is as a result of many of the fires that California has had in recent years. Those people have to come someplace. They have to relocate, okay? And obviously, especially right now, L.A. is seeing an influx of people who used to live in paradise because that community was devastated, coming to L.A. to buy and to basically take over and occupy. And that is something that the other cities and areas throughout the country are not seeing. But that's happening here. Can't go to San Francisco because if you think L.A. is expensive.
No, the whole city is gentrified there. You got a whole city that's gentrified.
Compared to San Francisco, L.A. is a bargain.
Yeah.
San Francisco, forget about it.
Well, but it's closing in on SF. Okay, Pedro Baez, got it. Got to go. All right, thanks again. Let's go to Bill. Speaking of paradise, Lake Elsinore. Bill, go right ahead.
Hey, Dr. Earl, brilliant on all your points.
Thank you, sir.
And you make a great supervisor. But bring Angela Hoffman with you.
A.H. Hoffman, field deputy, media, all the above.
Okay, my folks, when they migrated from Eastern Europe, came to Boyle Heights. That was a strong, tight-knit community in Boyle Heights. We've moved away from there, and the whole group's been scattered, known as Mollicons, if that means anything. But the heart and the emotions say, no gentrification. But change happens so fast in California, and we live in the private property and banking system, so it's just inevitable. And there's nothing we can do about it. Like you said, change.
Yeah. All right, Bill. And you know what? Well, thanks again, Bill. Let me just say, let me keep going, because I'm going to circle back on that. Bill said it's inevitable. The fact is it's going to happen. We live in a market economy. And the fact of the matter is price determines everything. We do not live in a society where someone can, in this case, government can step in and say, this is what you can charge for your property, your private property. This is what you can sell it for, and there's going to be limits on that. It doesn't work that way. So, of course, you've got flippers that come in. You've got speculators that come in that buy up in South L.A. property on the cheap. I just saw something the other day. There was something that looked like a shed in South L.A. that's going for, I think the price was about $625,000. No, it looked like a shed. You put that same piece of property, Oliver, say in Georgia, say in Alabama, say in Missouri, that would go for about, what, $5,000, there. What's the old real estate maxim? Location, location, location determines everything. Just so happens in South L.A. right now, and when you look at South L.A., it's the center of everything. Do you want to, Oliver, do you want to sit in your car for 2 hours going out to Moreno Valley and coming into L.A. to work? Leroy, do you want to sit in your car going out to Simi Valley and coming into L.A. to work, Lancaster, Palmdale? Because that's what you're going to be doing. Now, freeways or parking lots. When any central city is prime real estate, why do you think they went in and rehabbed Santa Monica? It used to be a dump, parts of that. Long Beach used to be dumps. All these places, probably parts of Torrance, used to be dumps. They went in and what did they do? They made walks out of them, malls out of them, riverfront this and that, and all. They prettied them up because it's valuable property. So the brutal reality is when you live in a market economy, South LA, center of everything is value. It's not the house it's on it, it's the land. That determines everything. All right, let's see. Warren, Mar Vista. Warren, go right ahead. Line 4.
Thank you for accepting my call. I have something I'd like to present for you and your crew and your listeners' consideration that relates to gentrification but may not appear in the beginning. I would like to propose that human beings predominantly are divided up into two groups. One are liberals, whose basic orientation is that people can change and the government is the best way to produce the change, and conservatives, who are people who believe people can't change, so why bother waste money on a government program? And I would recommend that people can change, but never through a government program, because it always has to happen from within. And government ought to limit itself to infrastructure, which I define as something everyone can use. So primary, secondary education, embassies.
All right, we'll translate that, because before we go any further, we got so many calls. Translate that out into the topic, gentrification. What would you do about it, or if anything?
I think if the majority developed the view of government that I'm suggesting, that people would be oriented, working in a way that they were fulfilled by their work, and they would not put money first. They put the quality of the experience, and we wouldn't have these absurd ideas of being willing to pay huge amounts of money just to live in some place.
All right, got it. All right, that's fair enough, but you do realize we're talking about another time and another place and another society and another type of human being, that you've taken literally greed out of the equation. Kennedy, we've got someone age off, and I want to go to, I think that's on line, what is it, 10 or 9? I can't see that well. Anyway, this person is from Park Mesa Heights. Big development, that's A.H. Hoffman, in Park Mesa. That's actually what spurred me to do the show. I got a communication from the president of the Park Mesa Association. They said, hey, right in our neighborhood, right off of Crenshaw and 54th, another big, huge development is coming in. And they're fighting that over there. They're fighting that now. So, Park Mesa, are you there? Heights.
Hi, good morning.
All right, go right ahead.
Hey, so I'm just calling in. I'm a resident in Park Mesa Heights near Slauson and Crenshaw, and I actually happen to live on the street where the development is planned to go up.
That's on Bryanhurst, correct?
Yeah, 5748 Bryanhurst. And right now it's still in the process of the city planning department approving it, pending a recommendation from the design review board. But I'm basically calling to comment on this discussion about how gentrification is affecting neighborhoods and communities. And so, in light of this project going up, and there's another one going up on 5901 Crenshaw Boulevard, near 59th and Crenshaw.
Right.
These ones that are going up, they're kind of a representation of an intersection of different measures that have come up in Los Angeles as well as in the state to address the affordable housing crisis, the job crisis, and also issues with congestion and transportation. So to keep this brief, as we all know, there's a metro being built that's supposed to connect downtown and the airport, and it runs right on Crenshaw, right next to where we are. And because of that, because we're within a certain radius, within a half mile of the metro, a major transit stop, it means that basically all of the properties within that area, for example, ones that are deemed commercial mixed, where the bottom floor would be for a business and the top floor would be for apartments, if a developer does come in and acquire that property, they have the ability to have density bonus incentives from the city to make it more densely packed without parking, and basically trying to address the fact that there's a lot of people that don't have housing. And then there's a clause in there that there's going to be a couple affordable housing units.
Okay, let me stop you there, Kennedy. That was my question. Now, the big argument goes like this, and I want you to respond to this. Why are you against this? Because why are neighbors against it? Why are homeowners against it? Why is anybody against two things? One, we need more housing, and so this is a way to do it because now we can accommodate more people. The second part to that is, you just alluded to that, there is a provision, a set-aside provision, that a certain percentage, let's say you got I'm just picking a figure. Let's say you have 20 units, let's say 100 units you're going to build, that the set aside is a certain percentage of them are going to go for low and or moderate income individuals, i.e. affordable housing. So the big argument on the other side is, and you've heard it, is but we are providing housing and we're also much needed housing and we're also providing affordable housing. Why should you be against that? So how would you respond to that, Kennedy?
And it kind of underscores that this is a bigger approach than just opposing a development on a street. There are the practical implications of congesting the street, inconveniencing the neighbors, blocking the sunlight, putting extra pressure on the infrastructure. But if you take a step further back and look at this within the context of the city having the responsibility for addressing the affordable housing crisis, there's also another crisis that needs to be taken into account when these developments are going up. And that has to do with the impact that it has on the economic well-being of the surrounding community. So for anyone who's been in the area, if you are on Crenshaw and Slauson and you go west on Slauson, you'll notice there is a number of businesses, and some of them look vacant, but you notice there's no Ralph's, there's no big businesses there. They seem like they're all maybe family-owned or privately owned, and they're not really bustling. And the huge concern is that when these properties go up and they're supposed to be commercial mixed, they're supposed to include a component which gives back and serves as an investment in the community by way of providing opportunities for businesses to flourish. And so one thing that we've noticed with these initial projects, and I'm sure there will be very many more, because there are a number of streets next to Crenshaw and Slauson that.
Well, Kennedy, let me stop you right there, because as you probably guessed, we got a gazillion people that certainly want in on this. Let me ask this. Now, I know the association, Park Mesa Association, you've been having meetings. My guess is there will be more meetings on this. If people are interested and they want to get involved with you, learn with a lot of time, learning all the issues and everything that's at stake, do you have a contact number that people could reach you or the association?
I mean,
or should we just say the Park Mesa Association?
I mean, it's not like I'm not with the formal association. I'm kind of just, working in connection with everybody who's trying to do their thing. But they can email me if they have any questions. Basically, what the next move I think should be is getting people vocal. So I'm aware that there's a petition going around, but our next step is to give people the tools they need to be able to contact the city council and the city decision makers.
Why don't we do this, Kennedy? Off the air, don't leave. Angela, would you take her contact information, and at the end of the show, I'll give that again. So, Kennedy, don't leave, even though we're going to take you off the air. I want you to talk to A.H. Hoffman. Give her all that information. We got so many people. I want to get as many as I can in. It's a hot button topic, and by the way, it's touched a nerve, as you could guess, Kennedy. Needless to say, we're going to keep revisiting this issue. We're going to talk about it again. All right, let's keep moving here. Would you do me a favor? We got so many people, and I want to give as many people a chance as we can. I will button it up to the extent I can. Leroy, that's a promise. But you have to promise me something on the other end. Be as brief as you can. Okay, we're going to go right down the list. I think Juan, East LA, you've been waiting. Be brief, Juan, so we can keep moving. Go right ahead.
Thank you for taking my call. I'll make it brief. This is a false economy based on low interest rates. The government can't control the price of homes by increasing or decreasing the interest rate. Think back to 1980 when we had upwards of 19% interest to buy a home. Prices were low. And Daddy Bush lost his first election. His son, Junior, this onward trend on the interest rate to stimulate the economy. So let's not forget that the government can't control the prices.
All right. Well, Juan, that's a good point because, thank you. And the interest rates, by the way, are going down. So we'll see how it plays out. The key thing, though, is that may be on the interest rate side, but real estate industry, as you well know, supply and demand, basic law of capitalism. There's a demand, obviously, particularly in Southern California. Prime real estate, who wouldn't want to live in an area that's close, 5 minutes to everything, and as opposed to 2 hours on a freeway sitting. So it's a supply and demand. It's going to be housing, going to be development. And the fact of the matter is, they're going to charge market rates. There's no cap on what someone can charge. The rule of thumb in real estate is basic one: whatever the freight will pay. That's the way it goes. I mean, it's not socialism. George, Hollywood. George, go right ahead. I know you'll be brief. George?
I've lived in Hollywood for 70 years. I went to nursery school out here in Hollywood, and I watched the so-called beautification of Hollywood. And all that beautification meant is the new restaurants that went up. The people who live in this neighborhood can't afford to eat at them. They can't afford to shop at the shops that they put up. I'm a renter, so every time they put up these new fancy buildings, I've called to say, hey, is there affordable housing? I understand that's the rule. And not one building in the past 5 years that I've been calling, not one building has had affordable housing.
Well, and thanks again, George, for that comment. You know, it's not just South L.A., as George is saying, it's also Hollywood and also other areas, too. I mean, L.A. is prime real estate. And Hollywood, by the way, is still considered part of central L.A. So, matter of fact, you can't even get more central than that. So I'm not surprised. The other thing that George brings up, Leroy, I'd be curious about. I have never gotten really a clear answer from any city official or county official. When they set aside a certain percentage affordability, I do get it that you cannot, there's a cap on what you can, with the rent that you can charge. I've never been clear on this point. What happens when someone comes in under the affordable plan, they get that unit, they're there, and then after a year, they vacate it? It's not clear if then they can bring that up to market rate for the next group that's coming in. We need clarification on that. Let's get Dr. Mello? Dr. Mello, L.A. I like that. Go right ahead, Mello. Doc?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Earl. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I want to be clear. South L.A. and West Athens on Vermont and Imperial is a clear case of leadership, like realtors, like Curtis Fralin Commercial. These are African-American realtors that are also withholding property for these foreigners.
I keep hearing that.
We have to be clear in accountability. So on Monday, August 5th, I would love for you to host some type of town meeting. This is a perfect piece of property where 4 buildings where we want to build a wellness center and housing was undermined by a gentleman called David Goldman. And I'm going to put him on blast because he's from Beverly Hills. And he paid $200,000 last month to either Mark Ridley Thomas or Marquise Harris Dawson to build high-rise condominiums right there off of Vermont Imperial without the community input. So this is an outrage coupled with many other areas, as we just discussed, that are being gentrified. So once we have accountability with our own people, and as I mentioned, Curtis Fralin Commercial, they own a lot of property in South LA that could be used right now for housing, like Western and 60th. It's a huge lot where we can build at least 1,000 affordable units right there. But people like Marquise Harris Dawson are not moving forward with the constituents who had a plan for many years. And so we're sick and tired of this bureaucracy, and we would like something done about it. So on Monday, August 5th at 10 a.m. on Vermont and Imperial, we are going to have a public forum, and we want all of the landowners.
Good for you. Good for you.
To come out and talk to the people.
I like that. All right, say that again. Give that information again. That's 10 o'clock, August 5th. Is that a Monday?
August 5th.
I like that, Leroy and A.H. A public forum. I like that. Public space, I'm assuming right in the heart of the community, on public property, i.e. a sidewalk. Why not? The old town hall for the people. I like that. Keep us abreast of that. By the way, we have a Facebook page, too, Dr. Mello. Send me the information. It's at Earl of R.A. Hutchinson or Hutchinson Report. What we'll do, we'll blast it out on my Facebook page. We got, by the way, Leroy, we got 3 Facebook pages. We got over 10,000 friends now. So if you blast it to me, whatever you put up, boom. Perfect. I guarantee you the community will know about it. All right, Doctor, thank you very much. All right, let's take, Ricky, let's moonwalk a little bit. We're going to come right back. We got Morris. We got Mikhail. We'll get to you. Robert. And you've been listening to the Hutchinson Report. Gentrification or development, good or bad. We'll be right back. Okay. So, how are we doing? Leroy, do you have 1 or 2 comments? Do you have anybody to read? How are we doing? Are we weighing in, my Facebook live stream audience? Gentrification of development. I want your thoughts on that. Your thoughts on that. I'm getting tongue-tied on it. I'm trying to get everything in because we're rushing at the end.
Yeah, Kenneth from Detroit.
Don't tell me. Just read it at the end. All right, Morris, Long Beach. Go right ahead, Morris. I know you got some issues down there in LB.
Well, it goes like this, Professor. If the government is not doing eminent domain, taking over property and setting up housing projects like the kind I was raised in, and look at what it did for me. I lived long enough to collect Social Security. If you don't take eminent domain and build public housing, let it go. But anyway, let me jump on this real quick. I got a bumper sticker. It's a red, white, and blue bumper sticker. It's got a picture of Donald Trump on it, and it says, "The face of hate, vote." And that's it. And stop calling people racist. Call them ethnocentric. If you call people racist, they feel embedded.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you're just basically playing into their hands. I've said that many, many times.
Stop calling them white. Call them melon deficient. And you're correct about them 6 states. So how do we deal with them? You can't be tripping with calling them racist and stuff like that. Get bumper stickers, like I just said, a red, white, and blue bumper sticker, Trump's face on it, the face of hate. Vote. That's how you got a message. The Democrats got a message.
All right, Morris, got it loud and clear. Okay, Michael, L.A., go right ahead. Hello?
Good afternoon. This is Mikael. Gentrification is not good for us. They just moving us out, coming into South L.A. We don't have no businesses. We don't have no airline, no gas station. We don't have the money to keep our places. It's according to that new stadium to be right near, just like the Coliseum. We have always been around there making money when people come to the games. But it's not good for us, so I really don't know what to say. And one other thing I want to say before I let you go, happy belated birthday to the Black Madonna, Angela Huffman.
Oh.
I did want to say that. So.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Ooh, she just melted on that. Look at her. Oh, my God. Just turned to putty on that. Wow. I mean, butter in the studio. I mean, just drained over the microphone. I like that. I have to say, a guy. Sensitivity and class.
Yes.
All right. Thanks again, Mikael. Let's go with Robert, L.A. Robert, go right ahead.
Good morning, Earl.
How are you?
You know what? I'd like to tie in the subject of gentrification with your nephew's view. As you and your nephew know, that the people that can afford the houses in areas that are being gentrified in general are not black folks.
Right.
I mean, you talk to realtors, they'll tell you that, black people in general are outbid on these homes, which shows you that we don't make as much money. So if Trump is as good as he says he is, then why are blacks not able to afford these homes?
Well, Robert, I think you're kind of being facetious on that. You really know the answer, and most people that are discerning really know the answer to that. Put simply, they can't, because it's not designed for them. I had, I'm listening to you, and as you were talking, I thought of something. True story, Oliver. I think I mentioned in the beginning, the house next to me had been vacant for about 6-7 months. The fellow that was there, he died. And so it didn't go into probate. He was a former doctor. A flipper came in, rehabbed the whole thing, put it on the market for $1.4 million. Okay, you know what I guess we can call him developer. I call him a flipper. He didn't even try to hide it, Leroy. I went over. He was so happy about what they did with the house. I went over. I took a look at it. They did a beautiful job with it, I must say. I mean, they put a lot of money into it. And they had one day an open house. And the open house, a lot of African Americans came up. They lasted about 1 minute. They did a U-turn, came up and walked out because, they had all the fancy little literature and everything. Saw the price. Boom. That's it. I'm out of here. Can't afford it. Now, he flatly told me at the end, when I went in to being nosy, I had to be nosy. I had to peek around and see what they're doing. He said, "What do you think?" This is what he told me. I'm not making this up. I'm quoting you something that this guy, straight from the horse's mouth, said, not speculation. He said to me, and I'll till my dying day, I'll remember these words. He said, "What do you think?" I said, "It's a beautiful job you did." He said, "Did I make your 4th of July, your Christmas, your New Year's? Did I make that for you?" Do you know what he was telling me? He said, "I have just raised your property next door. I have raised your property to $1 million home. You ought to be jumping for joy, Mr. Hutchinson." But then, Leroy, he gave me the pièce de résistance, the coup de grace. He said, we'll probably market it to some fella on the no, excuse me, let me get it right. We'll probably market it to some high-tech guy on the west side. I said, we'll probably market it to some high-tech guy on the west side. Translated, we ain't talking about no Olivers. We're not talking about people that look like you or AH. We're going to the west side with money. And by the way, they actually advertise. They advertise in those areas. They don't even advertise anymore, in, say, the African-American publications or things online where blacks, typically look. You don't even know about them. You have a sale, big money, it's over there. So it's even, Robert, I got to tell you, it's worse than you think. A final thought, Robert?
I think that points to a bigger problem. Why is it, again, we can't afford these homes. And it's because we don't make as much money. I've talked to people, black folks who work in HR, and they'll tell me that black folks who do the same job as whites still make significantly less money.
Well, I think the last figure I saw was about 85%.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. So that points to a bigger problem in society.
Well, let me stop you, Robert, because we're almost out of time. I think that bigger problem, needless to say, we're going to roll into that with a lot of other shows that are upcoming. I'm only stopping you because we only got a couple of minutes left, and I'm going to get one or two more in. But thanks again, Robert. Great point. We got a first-time caller, Art, San Diego. Art, be very brief because we're running out.
Yes, sir. I just want to say, hey, I push back. I'm a Trump supporter because I didn't see any viable Democrats. Hillary, heck no. So us Latinos, not all of us hate Trump. I just want to lay that out there.
All right.
It seems like just because my melatonin, like you guys are saying, my skin color, I'm supposed to not like Trump? Come on. Hey, I dig your show, bro.
All right. Okay, Art. Hey, fair enough. We like it. We like all points of view here. We don't discriminate. We love it. Daniel, Baldwin Hills. Dan, go right ahead. Daniel?
I live in Baldwin Vista, which is the flat part of Baldwin Hills. I moved here 6 years ago. And one thing I've noticed that's helped is the strength of the HOA. And the HOA here has prevented an investor from turning a strip mall into an industrial car wash. And when Carmel Partners is building this 30-story building at Jefferson and La Cienega, the city told Carmel Partners they needed to get approval from the HOA before they do anything, even though the zoning allowed for that high-rise. So I think it's important in all these issues, the value of a strong HOA. And the Baldwin Hills Village Gardens HOA, they don't mess around. They're close with the police, they're close with the city council, and they get stuff done.
All right. Thanks again for that input. And by the way, HOA, Homeowners Association. We have two. Matter of fact, they had a big meeting last week in Windsor Hills and View Park, and they're all over the place. I guess what they're saying is people power can make a difference. Well, we know that, A.H. Hoffman. We know that, Leroy. We know that, Oliver. We know that, Dino. We know that, Ricky. Okay. We're going to have to wrap it up. A.H. Hoffman, we're going to wrap things up right now. Do you want to have a final say-so? Leroy, did you have someone that you wanted to read? We're doing our Facebook live stream. Pardon me?
We will on our way out.
Okay. What we're going to do, we'll thank those that joined us on our Facebook live stream. All right. Ricky, are you getting ready to do some moonwalking? You don't look like you're moonwalking. You don't look like you're doing that. A.H. Hoffman, come on. Where's Mike again? We got to bring Mike in at the end. Felix Mendelssohn, Piano Concerto #1. We'll get him in another time and another day. A.H. Hoffman, a final thought, make it very brief. We're out of the studio. Gentrification, good or bad?
Bad.
All right. Can't get any briefer than that. We will have you elaborate on that at a future time and place.
Yes, you will.
I promise you, we had a lot of people that didn't get in today. I know I had to lay everything out, A.H. Hoffman. I had to do that. What can I tell you, Next time, we'll have a part 2 and a part 3. A.H. Hoffman, you know it's not going away. It's not going away. So it's not, what the old folk used to say, Leroy, Rome wasn't built in a day. Come on. We'll hit it again. All right, Ricky, thank you. A.H. Hoffman, always a pleasure. Oliver, we're going to be doing some, what are we going to be doing, Oliver, in the future?
We will be doing a podcast on YouTube. We will start adding clips from this show onto our YouTube page so that all our listeners can know what we're up to and know when to tune in. So stay tuned.
All right. Thanks again, Oliver, another one of our, great associate producers here. I thank everybody. And Vino, thank you very much. All right. We're going into the fund drive next week, so we need money to stay on the air and keep and grow and do all those good things. You know what to do. Thanks again for everybody. And thanks again for listening and watching. Until next week. Next week's. Okay, let's blow this joint. All right, Vino, we're going out. We're walking out the door. Let me hold it open. Okay, we're going out. And if you can assist Leroy, where's Leroy?
I got it.
Leroy Jackson.
Thank you.
You know, you got notes from the thanks and people. Thank you.
Okay, yes, I would like to thank Kenneth. I would like to thank Gerard, Ron, Ruben, Shella, Carla, Gregory. I also like to thank B. Clark, Barbrina, Marini, I think that's how you pronounce it. Michelle, George, Linda, Roger, Rashad, Pat, and Liza. Pat from Louisiana.
Oh, Louisiana.
Louisiana.
All right, I like that. Okay, Oliver, would you elaborate a little bit more on what we're trying to do with the podcast?
Okay, so in the coming weeks, you will see on our YouTube channel, on the Hutchinson Report YouTube channel, we'll start having a podcast type of videos of about 5-6 minutes long of you know, the important clips of the segments of any week's show, and there will be just segments from any of the past few weeks, just to give people an idea of what it is that we're doing, so that and also to promote the station and to promote the show, so people can tune in on Saturday mornings.
Did you tell people who you are? They need to know.
Well, yeah. And I'm
You're going to be
Oliver,
the producer.
right? I'm Oliver Bennett, you know, executive producer of the Hutchinson Report YouTube channel. Thank you.
Talk to the
Who is
nation.
this right here? Who is this young lady?
Talk to the
What's
nation.
going on? Talk to the nation.
Talk to the nation. Speak.
I'm What's on my mind? I'm A.H. Hoffman. Hi, everybody.
That's it?
No, but see, so have you done everything? I just walked up. Have you guys
Well,
done everything?
Oliver just talked about the coming podcast.
The coming podcast, okay. And
What do
have
you got
said
to
what you
add?
have to say?
What do you got to add?
Oh, a whole lot to
Well,
add.
I'll tell you one thing you can
Okay.
add, one thing, a new little wrinkle that I like. Tell people now that a day before, and you need to, and I like what you're doing, a day before, you started yesterday, you're incorporating now a little tease about the show. Announce that. Yeah, well, people, don't assume they know things.
Well, people that okay, so hey guys, this guy right here.
I'm trying to, I know, no. This
But
lady
anyway,
here.
so day before the show, the day before the show, I will be recording a little tease about the show. I think it's and so I want you to tune in to my page, to his page, and you'll see a tease. But next week, for the next 3 weeks, we're going to be in Fund Drive. So KPFK is going to be in Fund Drive. Don't get discouraged. We haven't gone anywhere. It's just that's what happens. They have to raise money to keep the show, the station running. So we definitely appreciate your support. So we will definitely be back. So in about 3 weeks, you definitely will see another tease. And from there on, you will see a tease about the show. But we thank you, always thank you for your support. And make sure that you share the show. You share this video with your friends. Please continue to share.
You know what A.H. Hoffman reminds me of? Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye was painfully shy. Painfully shy. He didn't like to go on stage, and perform. Mm-hmm. And the great story about Marvin is, that he did everything not to go on and perform. But, once they got him on stage, they couldn't get him off. A.H. Hoffman reminded me of that. She didn't want to open up, and then when she started, she couldn't stop blabbing. She just went on and on and on. Reminded me of Marvin Gaye, didn't want to go on stage when you need a hook to get them all.
So he's telling me I don't want to start blabbing, huh? Who's the blabber? Oh my God! I can't even get him
She
take
sent me a note.
break,
The nerve of her, the
break
gall.
for the show and say, hey, can we like get to the callers? He's like,
she
and
sent
like,
me a
hey,
note.
just
Earl,
hang on like this.
did you see? You didn't see it,
I said,
Oliver.
Earl, you've been
Leroy,
talking
you
nearly
didn't see it.
30
I saw the
minutes.
note. She's been talking for 30 minutes. Did you see it?
And I'm like, Earl, I want to get to the
I
callers.
have not been talking for 30 minutes. It
I
was
said
not 30
nearly.
minutes.
I said nearly.
I timed it.
It was
29
9:25.
minutes. It was only 29.
And that's when I'm like, Earl, we want to hear the girl. That's all I'm saying. We want to hear the callers because we want to hear your opinion. And what I always say, why? Because it matters to us.
There you
are
go.
the voice of the people.
There you go. Do you want to finally put the kibosh on this for the day?
The kibosh?
Yeah, the wrap.
The kibosh
Put the
is,
wrap.
I know
We
the
need a wrap.
kibosh. The kibosh is, thank you for your continued support. And just don't forget that we'll be in Fund Drive for 3 weeks, but then we'll be back. All right? What?
Some comments here I like to read.
Oh, I didn't know.
Okay.
Okay,
Vino. Hey, go
oh,
right ahead.
Vino, I'm stinking Vino.
Okay, Missy, she said we need to do away with the electoral college. She loves Warren too. And this is from Kenneth in Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit, whoa. Motor
He
City.
says black people are being done in by their own black elected officials.
That's for sure. Your favorite.
Okay, and also.
I
get it.
It's fine. That's fine.
This is
That's
from
professional.
Michigan.
That's how you do it. You drop it.
Yeah.
Drop it.
Hurry up, Vino, because we're trying to get out of here.
Okay.
Her mother had to wait 2 years to move into her house. Whites ran out of the neighborhood, taking services with them. Big problem is now whites are returning and I can't really
Big numbers.
return and calling the police on us.
Okay.
All right.
Come over here and read. In fact, over there. No.
No, not.
Right there. There you go.
Okay. Okay, let me get to this next comment. Gregory says gentrification and hikes have come too fast for most to pivot. Building vertically is inevitable. Okay.
All right. I think we can
Okay.
put the wrap on that. Okay, now,